There was an individual by the name of B.F. Skinner, and B.F. Skinner coined the term operant conditioning, which is a form of learning. So what Skinner was really fascinated by was the law of effect. The law of effect states that behavior is either strengthened or weakened depending on the outcome. So let's say, again, we can use, you're a 5-year-old kid, you're at home, and you do something. What do? You take your crayons and you go draw on the walls. Now, depending on the outcome, you're either going to get this habit, this behavior is either going to get strengthened or weakened. So you draw on the walls, mom and dad come home. What are the chances they might yell at you? They might get upset. They might look upset. They'll wash it off. You'll see how frustrated they are. Now that is going to weaken the behavior. Now chances are next time when you have crayons in your hand, you're like, maybe this isn't such a good idea. But if we go back to another example that I used, right, when you and let's say your kid, your 5-6-year-old kid goes over and he opens the door for a complete stranger, and then you as a parent praise him. You go, hey, good job, buddy. That's so kind of you. That's so thoughtful of you. Look at my son at such a young age. Looking out for other people. Wow, I'm totally going to buy you an ice cream. Now what you've done with the immediate praise is you have strengthened that behavior. So next time when they're thinking about opening that door or not, they're thinking about your praise. They're thinking about how good they felt, and you're increasing the chances substantially for them to go on and do that. Now, he really called the term positive reinforcement. Now, B.F. Skinner himself believed in positive reinforcement more than punishment. So I know that many ways, whether we want to talk about parenting or teaching or whatever, you have two ways to look at it. A parent can go, hey, listen, if you don't study for your exam, you're grounded over the weekend. You're not going anywhere. So now you're using the fear of punishment, the fear of you want to go out with your friends? Well, you can't do that. Or you could look at it as, hey, if you do, finish studying for your midterm, I'll buy you a case of beers, or I'll take you out somewhere, I'll do something. So it's, do you want to motivate them through fear, or do you want to motivate them through positive reinforcement? So if Skinner was a high school teacher, chances are if you missed his class, he wouldn't say, okay, anybody who misses my class is losing marks. I bet you if he was a high school teacher or a university prof, he'd probably say something like, okay, everybody who does show up to class, we're going to do a bonus 1% quiz, that everyone who's here gets a mark, everyone who isn't, they don't lose a mark, but they don't gain a mark. So this way, you are benefiting the people that are in class. So if I'm going to his class, I'm going, oh, okay, well, I'm getting that extra mark. It makes sense for me to go. Positive reinforcement. Now, what do you think about that? Do you think positive reinforcement is the way to go for you? Or are you going, no, Daniel, actually, I need someone to ignite that fear. I need someone to be angry to kind of push me. I'm curious to know, what do you prefer? Does something motivate you more than the other? And if so, why is that? Now, Skinner really focused in again on this idea of learning operant conditioning, positive reinforcement, and he took it one step further. Skinner is actually known, and you can Google this, that he taught pigeons how to play ping pong. I know that sounds crazy, but basically this is how he broke it down. He said, so imagine this. There's a psychologist, there's a ping pong table, and there's a pigeon on the other side of the ping pong table. What he would do is he would grab a ping pong ball with one hand. He'd toss it across, right? And as it's getting close to the pigeon, if the pigeon leans its head close to the ping pong ball, he would also throw a little food pellet over to it, a treat. If it leaned away, he wouldn't do anything. So he did this a couple of times. And again, my friends, animals are very intelligent. So he throws it, the animal came forward, it got the pellet, and it got the rhythm. And then all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, when he's throwing the ball, the pigeon is naturally bringing his head closer, and he's throwing the pellet. Then all of a sudden, he stops throwing the pellet. And then he starts again. And then he stops, and then he stops, until eventually the pigeon ends up, he'll throw the ball, and the pigeon hits the ping pong ball with its head. And when it does that, that's when he gives the treat. And then he'll throw it again. The pigeon gets close. He doesn't do anything. And then he throws it and hits it with its head. That's when he gives it the treat. So eventually, this pigeon knew as soon as this ping pong ball was going, it started stimulating, right? This became a conditioned stimuli. As soon as he saw that sucker go, he knew he has to headbutt that thing back in order to get his treat. So that, my friends, is another example of how gradually you can start bringing that up. Of how, just the little, he called this shaping. So just the mini reinforcements that he would keep giving little by little here in order to bring this pigeon up to his standards, up to what he was looking for. Now, the one kind of thing that psychology doesn't love about this sort of idea, this sort of operant conditioning, is it kind of looks over the idea of biology. So when we talked about conditioned stimuli and learning and automatic behavior and all that good stuff, it kind of disregards genes, right? It doesn't focus a lot on the biology, and it focuses a lot more on the environment around you, the reinforcement, what people say. It doesn't as much go into like, oh, this person is just a selfish person, or they are not thoughtful, thus they were, you know what I mean? So that is the one area where kind of operant conditioning doesn't exactly zone in on. Now, my friends, when we're thinking about positive reinforcement, when we're thinking about, teaching someone something, if you were to teach someone something, why do you think it would be better to use positive reinforcement as opposed to punishment, or vice versa? So if I were to think about it, not only do I want to build a behavior in someone, but I would like to think I want to build a positive relationship between me and this individual. And there's just something about positive reinforcement that I really, really like. That in terms of you're telling them, where they are, and you are giving them a thumbs up for whatever they're doing so they know to repeat it. Right? Because if you want to see a behavior repeated, you giving the thumbs up is amazing. Whereas, let's say someone does something and you don't like their behavior. It could be a friend, it could be a girlfriend, spouse, whatever, and you call them out or you give them that punishment afterwards, the criticism. Sure, it works, but what kind of a relationship state are you guys in? Now please do not take this out of context. Daniel is not saying, oh, no matter what my friend does, I have to always say good job, and I have to never call him out when he's messing around. No, that is not what I'm saying at all, my friends. I think moderation. I think moderation in everything. I think you should criticize when necessary, and I think you should use positive reinforcement when necessary. But if there was a spectrum of, always criticizing on one end and always positively reinforcing, we want to be close to the middle, right? I would imagine. That is my guess anyways. Maybe I am leaning a little bit more towards the positive reinforcement side. But I'm curious as to what do you think? What do you think about that? If you are teaching someone something, if you are trying to instill habit into someone, what is the best way to trigger that? I thank you so much for joining me on the journey to self-awareness. My name is Daniel, and I wish you guys a fantastic day. Take it easy, my friends.